You think you know love, right? You think you know what it means to be wanted, to feel alive, but let me tell you something. I didn't know anything about love until it was too late. It started out as a simple crush, a little fling at work, nothing serious. But somehow it spiraled out of control. I left my husband, the man who had given me everything, for a man who promised me excitement, passion, and an escape from the dullness of routine. But now I'm sitting here, desperate, begging for my husband to take me back. I've been living in a nightmare of my own making, and what's worse, my ex-husband. He's not the one I need to worry about anymore. No, it's the man I married, the one I thought would be my happily ever after, that has become my worst nightmare. When I first met Mark, my husband, I thought I had everything. He was kind, loving, dependable. We built our life together slowly but surely. Every day, he showed me how much he loved me, and every day I loved him right back. Or at least I thought I did. It was comfortable, predictable. But that's where the problem started. I didn't want to admit it at first, but I wanted more. I needed something to spark that feeling, that thrill that had started to fade in my marriage. Then, he showed up. I remember the first time I saw him, David, my coworker. He was the opposite of Mark, wild, unpredictable. He didn't know how to keep his opinions to himself, and he didn't care. Everything about him was chaotic, and that's what I was drawn to. I craved the chaos. We started talking more at work, and the first time he touched me, just a hand on my shoulder, a lingering glance, my heart skipped a beat. It felt like lightning. I told myself it was nothing, that I was just having a moment of weakness, but soon, that moment turned into something I couldn't ignore. It wasn't long before the flirting turned into more. A kiss here, a stolen moment in the elevator there. My body wanted him in ways that I had never felt with Mark. The passion was raw, undeniable. But with every moment I spent with David, I felt like I was slipping away from the life I had built. And then, one night, it happened. We were at a work event. The alcohol flowed freely, and I found myself pressed against him, my breath quickening as his lips touched mine. It wasn't a kiss. It was an explosion. All the tension I had built up in my marriage, all the desire I'd buried deep inside me, was suddenly unleashed. Was this love? It didn't matter. It felt real. It felt like freedom. And I was willing to give up everything for it. I'll never forget the day I told Mark. It wasn't dramatic at first. I was calm, almost detached. The look on his face, though, his eyes, full of disbelief and hurt, haunted me long after the words had left my mouth. I told him I wanted a divorce. I told him I had fallen for someone else, someone who made me feel alive. I could see the pain in his eyes, but at the time, I didn't care. I thought I was doing the right thing. And so, I left. I walked away from the man who had been my rock, my partner, and I started a new life with David. I thought this was my fresh start, my chance at something real, but of course reality had other plans. It wasn't long before the cracks began to show. David wasn't the man I thought he was. The passion was still there, but so was the chaos. He was unpredictable, selfish, and manipulative. He demanded more and more of me, and I gave it to him, because that's what you do when you're too proud to admit your mistakes. But I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling in my gut. Something wasn't right. And then came the moments when I realized I wasn't happy. I wasn't alive. I was suffocating under the weight of the lies I had told myself. One day, David came home late, reeking of alcohol and someone else's perfume. And I knew it was over. So here I am, back at square one. The man I left, Mark, the one who would have never hurt me, is the one I'm begging for forgiveness now. I left him for excitement. I left him for something new, something thrilling. But it turns out, thrills come with a price. I tried to move on, tried to make my new life work, but the guilt, the regret, it's eating me alive. I've tried reaching out to Mark, calling him, texting him, showing up at his door, but every time, he turns me away. His silence is 1,000 times worse than his anger. I can feel him slipping further and further away from me. The love he once had for me is gone. And now I'm the one begging. But here's the kicker. Mark isn't the one who's truly controlling this situation. It's David. And I'm trapped. I'm stuck in a life I can't escape. Then one night, I finally got a call from Mark. I couldn't believe it. Finally, I thought. Maybe there was hope. Maybe this was the moment everything would change. When I showed up at his house, the first thing he did was hand me a letter. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside, it wasn't what I expected. It was a list of everything I had done wrong, every lie, every betrayal. And at the bottom, in big bold letters, you had your chance. Now, it's over. I stared at the words, my heart shattering all over again. I had ruined it. I had destroyed the best thing I ever had. But that wasn't all. Mark had moved on. He had already found someone else. And it wasn't just a rebound. He was happy. He was thriving without me. So here I am, alone. Looking back at the choices I made, wondering if I'll ever be able to fix the mess I created. I left Mark for someone who promised me excitement, but what I didn't realize was that the excitement comes with a price. The life I left behind? It was real. It was stable. But I was too blind to see that at the time. Mark's revenge isn't just about moving on. He's thriving without me, and that's the hardest pill to swallow. So, if you're listening to this, I hope you understand. Sometimes the biggest mistake you can make is thinking you'll always have time to fix things, because when it's gone, and you can't get it back.